Paul George. Right through the lane.
Very good read.
Paul George got hit in the face, but it doesn't matter.
Well, you know what? Remember how we talked about make some real courage as an athlete, a professional athlete, to make that kind of change.
Paul George to the rim. Paul George guards Irving, who misses a three. Rebounded by Orlando Johnson. And an easy dunk for Paul George.
When a point guard or anybody
steal, Josh Smith with a block from behind, but George gets it back and jams it.
And that was just numbers that time.
46. A lob to George and the Pistons. I think so did Hansbrough. Paul George inside.
And Paul's taking several shots from the
Orlando Johnson. This will be a breakaway for Paul George.
Because I'm not one to be able to put my life on the line the way that they have done and continue to do with Paul George.
They played well enough to win.
Bad pass by Prigioni, and then George with the jam.
He's getting a basket here. Yeah. He just got a triple-double there, folks. Another one for...
Oh, no, you guys, he shouldn't. Yeah. I said, oh, no, but he doesn't have much confidence.
Stolen by Paul George. He's off and running. And hammers it.
Ooh, he slams it. Gets this crowd into it. He also kept David West out with that other group, which was a partial group.
In the last 2 minutes, that's Steve Clifford, longtime NBA assistant.
Good one, too.
Who earlier this year, and here's the alley-oop, Paul George throws it down.
Yes!
Down the lane, outside, broken up by George. He'll go all the way.
Did you see him take an angle on Judkins?
Pocket pick by West. Great steal. They lob it up left side, and the dunk by George.
And they have good athletes that play defense. And Frank Vogel has got them to play early.
Nice backdoor cut as Paul George out beyond that three-point line. Lillard to the middle. Hibbert takes it away. Blocked it. George on his own will finish.
Willing to take the headbutt for the team. Take one.
They go back door to George, and he gets
the screen. Burks goes baseline around Scola. His shot is knocked down. Front court, George. Indiana running up in the front court. And look what George just did. Yeah, I don't know. But he's got a solid set of skills, and there's a steal. Watch out, George. Showtimes it with the left hand.
Could it be that he's trying to impress you?
The lead out to George. Leonard chasing. And even Danny Green couldn't stop that dunk. And the three won't go this time by Johnson. Battling is George. And he finishes.
That's come away with a second chance point for the Thunder.
To the post. Paul George chooses the window and gives the Rockets the 9-4 lead. Down the other end, George on the flush.
I love that. Not only that, if Indiana will take quick shots. How about this?
Here's George. Oh, that was fun. The two-handed reverse, and it's timeout time.
Watson steps in front. Another steal. Lead pass, George. Look out. Reverse jam. Paul George. Fast.
When you run a guy off the line, you can't let him straight line to the back. Oh, yes!
Over the top to PG by Watson, saved to Scola. To a
great pass.
Paul George who throws it down.
It's not a good pass, it's a great pass. You still got Stevens working on his stuff. Dumped! I mean, dumped! And Mike Brown took another time.
Have played well, second night of a back-to-back. Raptors, Jack are 4-2. Oh, backdoor cut, and Paul George with a slam dunk. And hang around with a good team. Paul George, what a great cut with a slam dunk.
They've had two of those tonight.
Three-point miss. Stevenson to Paul George, who throws it down.
Well, that was assisted play.
George to the basket. It's rebounded on the floor. Hibbert got it.
Yes,
and here is PG. That has to feel good.
Well, it has to feel good by Paul George.
5. Paul George gets in and dunks it.
And he's so good.
2:40 left. Paul George all the way through and jams it. 28 points for.
Though it's raining now. Wizards go defensively losing Paul George, and he scores.
28. And here's Paul George with a dunk.
Well, the Pacers have done a really good thing. If guy throws the open three-point shot out of that, and Paul George gets a steal, and a very solid pass there by George Hill.
Here we go now, starting the second half. Hill rest inside Paul George. Isn't this how we...
Oh, got that steal too.
And here he goes.
Here we go.
PG.
What you got?
Puts it.
Oh, yeah, PG.
That is the.
Thornton for three. Rebounded by Hill.
George is open.
And the Pacers have tied it.
Yes, sir. And George Hill comes up with a steal. Take it all away. Oh, yeah. He makes a really good play with Paul George.
The other day, Nick Young back into the game and coming from the bench, and also Jordan Hill. As Jordan Hill is in the mix down low, Paul George is going to rise and put it in. And Paul George
from extending defensively. He's the last line. He has to be there to prevent.
Outlet, outlet, run out behind the back, dunked by Paul George.
Ring in Boston as a reserve, and he just took it right away from Vucevic. Here's a 2-on-1.
Lob it. Yep. Because you hand Oladipo back, he can't get up there.
Reliability. Who can I count on? Right to Paul George. Who's going to get a little showtime.
Oh, that could be the one.
Good little showtime.
Back. Paul George. Find inside from Hill.
Is they try to run you off the three-point line, not let people get dribble penetration.
Paul George.
This is great defense by Paul George, David.
Overplayed the passing lane and throws another one down. His second big-time dunk.
The last 9 games at 29%. Here's Peace.
It's one to the left.
Indiana. Remember against Dallas, and here's a steal. PG is going to take it and pound it home.
There is refocus. The defense.
Butler off the bench. Now Rasul has shot it well this year, 50%. Here's a dunk by PG.
Yeah, you can see PG that time out. The note was made to Paul George, who I'm sure knows it, that he's got to do a better job on Middleton. Middleton's got to worry about Paul George, too. Nice little screen.
One of his 11 20-10 games in 2014. Mahinmi is also checked in. Alley-oop!
Got that one. Got that one in the same play that was
State back-to-back.
No, that was going with human nature.
Stevenson.
Very good pass. Iguodala will try to get it, but Stevenson threw the pass to the only son
here on the low block. Turned it over that time, though. Stevenson behind the back, and George with Indiana transition. George blows by his man, takes it strong, and throws it down.
Football players laying down when they're tired and nothing happens.
Something happening there.
Paul George all the way in, and
Second he gets on his heels as Roy Hibbert gets a steal. The outlet pass to Paul George lets the defense go by. And an easy two. And we talked about the key.
The tempo, that's a near steal. And Boozer had it knocked away again. Poked away by George. George will run and dump the ball.
Good defense, George.
And a team that hit just one three-pointer has hit 3. George on a nice play, I'm sure. Hill has been quiet. Indiana's got nothing from its bench. George stays on the floor and down the lane for fighting for the board. Pulled down by Hill. George, step around James. Oh, George, how do you do?
The Hawks at 55%, and Paul the steal, and just puts it down.
Which is all you need to do. One of the things, and I give
Durant stripped by Stevenson, and George will have it all to himself.
This lineup. He is stopped first and they get it as Mack has it dislodged. Grabbed by West ahead to George into the lane. And he throws it down with the right hand. Hawks spot.
21 bench points.
Top for Paul George. Has not had back-to-back wins in over a month. George, great position.
for the flush. In the second quarter, Korver is in. George to the hoop for the jam. Stevenson gets it back. Whips it inside. The uncontested 360 from George.
Have had issues here early in this game.
Carroll coming off a nice game as George all the way in for the stuff.
He shook, but got hot late and found themselves in the playoffs. Good look, whoa, and a little style for PG.
Yeah, beautiful play, but also
West trying to get it to George. Fakes on Ariza. Takes it to the rim. And slams! Paul George!
Back. With Roy Hibbert, he is not the type of player we're about to see an exciting play.
Paul George! Reverse jam!
Until you get hit, you don't know.
George releases off a turnover and an easy two for Indiana. Allen stolen. George down the other end, throws it down.
Well, what you talked about, Coach.
The inbound to George. George throws it down. Emphatic dunk for Paul George.
The game changed the tone and tenor of this game.
Another steal, this time from George, and the Pacers regain the lead. George on the steal on a bad pass from Bosch. George goes at Allen and throws it down. Largest lead of the game, stolen by George. Timeout Miami.
Players, it gets to a point where they no longer chase their peers. They chase greatness.
George throws it down, and for the Heat, crowd boos